So Jonathan Woodgate is the Borough's new head coach. It's not a particularly well-kept secret. It's been all over social media recently, but I think the club has had to sort out the contracts of the backroom staff, and that's probably one of the reasons why they've had to wait until it's all signed and sealed before announcing it. I'm really enthused. I think Woody could be a great manager for the football club. There's a lot of reasons why I think that, and there's also some reasons, or there's also some question marks that he's going to have to prove to everyone. The guy's a bit of a hybrid when it comes to football management and coaching, in my opinion. I think when he's talked about his influences in the game, talked a lot about the time he spent working under George Graham when he was in the youth team at Leeds, the importance of the organisation and the defensive functions that he reinforced, that I guess were the fundamentals for the career that he had. So he clearly respects that defensive organisation, and that was probably reinforced by time spent working as a player under Pulis at Stoke, and then latterly as a coach under Pulis. So I think that there will be influence from those guys, and he'll take the best parts of what they've done, and he clearly believes that that has a lot of value. But by the same token, at the other end of the coaching scale, I guess he's spent a lot of time developing his craft. He's still relatively inexperienced, I guess, but he's been the under-18s coach at the Borough. He's been the first team coach under two guys. One, Steve Agnew, where I think he was more hands-on, and Tony Pulis, where he was probably a little bit more of a support role. But he's built a good body of work working with young players and working with experienced players. And on top of that, he's also been part of Liverpool's recruitment team as well, which I don't think you can underestimate in terms of spending time on the continent, Spain and Portugal, looking at players, looking at development patterns, looking at talent identification. So he's got a kind of profile that fits, for me, like I said, a really good profile for football, a really good profile for modern day football. That he has a body of work from his time as a player and a body of work from his time as a coach, and I think if you put the two together, the balance, I think, will really benefit the football club. You've also got to look at the fact that he has an awful lot of elite contacts in the game. The guy was in a dressing room with Zidane, Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos and Guti, and I could name many more in that team. It was probably the most star-studded club team there's ever been. And whilst his time at Madrid wasn't that great, he managed to influence a lot of people at Madrid, despite the fact he had that nightmare debut, and despite the fact he didn't actually play that many times for them and moved on. He made an impact on the people there beyond what I think a lot of people like to give him credit for, and in doing so, I think he's then been able to take that and use it in terms of his influence in the game and his contacts in the game ever since. I know that he spent time with Pochettino, for example, at Tottenham, working through Pochettino's methods and learning from him. He's obviously got great contacts at Liverpool, given the role that he had there, and I think this will all benefit Middlesbrough Football Club, for not only because it adds layers to the knowledge that he has, but also those contacts may well prove invaluable in the loan market, the same way that Lampard's contacts at Chelsea, for example, last season really helped Derby. And I think that I can see that being a significant part of the plan for 2019-2020, as the club kind of adjusts to life without the buffer of Premier League parachute payments, and has to kind of amend the way it works to continue to compete in Championship football. So I think Woody's profile and his time spent with the very best in football is really going to benefit Middlesbrough Football Club. On top of that, you've also then got to look at the fact that he's a local boy. I listened to an interview a few days ago from BBC T Sport. I think it went back to 2013, 2014, and they talked about his influences in the game. And to be honest, they're the same as mine. It really kind of resonated with me. He grew up going to Ayresome Park week in, week out, getting a squeeze and going to watch the Borough during a period of time when Bruce Rioch and his team kind of brought the club back from virtual extinction to get promoted from the third to the second to the first division, and that was they were days that kind of etched in my memory, and clearly the same with Woodgate. He talks about his heroes were Mogger and Pally, Tony Mowbray and Gary Pallister, the two centre halves in that team, and again I would say the same. So this guy, he understands the local area. His family, his friends have got Middlesbrough Football Club at their heart, and that's been with him throughout his career. When he was a player at Real Madrid, he came back to Middlesbrough, and he had a choice to go back to Madrid or to stay at the Borough, and he chose to stay at his boyhood club. And a lot of his interviews over the years, he's dropped that in there, that the pride that he had in representing his hometown club was massive. I think if he does work in the local community, influencing anything in the local community, when he talks about the parks, the schools, the various communities within the broader Teesside area, he knows them because he's walked those boards. He's stood shoulder to shoulder with these people throughout his life at different periods. And whilst you could say that's a sentimental view, it adds a layer to his capability that Tony Pulis never had, that's for sure. And I hope that people recognise that. I hope that he's able to connect with people, partly because of that, because they have a shared love of the area, a pride in the area, and a pride in the football club. And that's, for me, is important. It's a cultural thing. I think it's important. In terms of his staff, he's got a fairly inexperienced group there. I mean, Leo's a legend, right? He's fantastic under Karanka. He's got a reasonable body of work and experience in South America as a coach. But it's his ability to create probably a dressing room, or to really add to the atmosphere in the dressing room, the connection with the fans. I think it's just a great appointment. I'm sure he's got a lot of technical quality to bring to it as well, but it's his character and his personality that I think will make a really, really big difference. Robbie Keane, fantastic player, and I think what he brings is the ability to drop the benefit of his playing experience in to particularly support the attacking players as an example. And I think that's a role in every modern dressing room that I think you need. I'm not one of these people who says that ex-pros shouldn't be given these opportunities. They've got a lot to offer. They've got a lot of knowledge and experience to pass on. And I think the likes of Hassan Bolonga and Lewis Wing and players like that will really benefit. Ashley Fletcher as well, if they stay at the club, I think would really benefit from spending time with Robbie Keane on the training ground, talking about things in a kind of classroom environment, over a beer, over a coffee, in the dressing room, half-time. I think that he has a level of knowledge and anecdotes from his own playing career that might just unlock some of the potential that they have. He's still got to work through his broader technical capabilities as a coach, but I think he brings that element, and I think that will be a benefit. Obviously, Danny Coyne knows the club as well, but when you look at the dynamics of the coaching team, it makes me feel like Woodgate's going to do a lot of the work out on the grass himself. He's clearly very capable of doing that, and I think if he wants to get his own ideas, his own patterns, his own methodology across, who better to do it than himself? So that's how it feels to me at the moment. Maybe you could say that the backroom staff is lacking a little bit in experience. Let's see how that goes. There might be more appointments, who knows? But it feels to me like Woody's going to do a lot of the work himself. Fair play to him. And for me, again, I like that as a manager. I think you've got to get out there, and you've got to inspire. You've got to get your methods across. You've got to reinforce those methods. You've got to tweak it as the season goes on, and I think that it feels to me like that's what he's going to do. In terms of the broader plan, what do I think he's going to do? I guess it's a case of the football club is adapting to the financial reality that it finds itself in. So he's going to, like I say, he's going to use loan players. He's going to use young players. I expect him to be to take more risks with the ball. I expect him to build patterns of play that see us dominate possession more and not sit deep and let the opposition have it. Hopefully it'll be a nice balance, because there's nothing wrong with playing direct, with being organised on set pieces and what have you. And again, it comes back to his, in my opinion, hybrid profile. Hopefully it'll be a bit of everything, but he'll be a bit more progressive with the ball and take more risks. And if that means we concede goals because of it, that's part of the learning process. So I can see him being willing to take those risks. But for me, final point, he's got to go out and step out from the shadows. He's spent his time, he's served an apprenticeship of sorts as a coach in the background in the shadows. Now he needs to be the mouthpiece for the football club. He needs to be the leader who communicates, who connects with not just the players, but the fans, the media, the broader footballing world. He's unproven in that role. To me, he's been relatively quiet in terms of the way he's communicated as a player and as a coach up to this point. Now he's taken one big step from the shadows out into the light, and that's probably the one big question mark, is how is he going to project his personality. I believe, from what people tell me a little bit closer to him, he has a real strength of personality that has influenced a lot of people over the years, and really positively, and some seriously kind of big hitters in the game. But he's got to do that now on behalf of Middlesbrough Football Club. I'm sure he's very proud to do it, and I, for one, am hugely supportive and hugely optimistic that if we have a little bit of patience, allow him to get to work, stick together, and make sure there's consistency in the support that he gets for an extended period of time, I think he'll do a really good job. So, yeah, fingers crossed, up the Borough.